good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and for just bearing with us while we had just a few technical issues before we start, but we're all ready and we have a great hour lined up for you. Today's topic is building a world-class local franchise marketing engine, and today is sponsored by Netsertive. So right now I'm going to kick it over to Jason Lynch, Director of Demand Generation, who's going to get us started, introduce Kristen and Marcy for us today, and take us through the hour. Jason?
All right, thank you so much, Caitlin. Kristen, Marcy, glad to have you here. As Caitlin mentioned, we're having some technical difficulties, so our VP of Sales, Ron, might be joining us, but maybe not. It might just be the Kristen, Jason, and Marcy show here today. So very excited to be joined by Marcy and Kristen. I'd love to just ask you each just to introduce yourselves and tell us about Handyman Connection and Massage Lux. So Marcy, can you go first?
Thanks, Jason, and you got this. And Ron, hopefully you're in the background there. Technical difficulties never stopped this group. Hi, I'm Marcy Kleinsasser. I'm the Vice President of Marketing with Handyman Connection. We have over 60 locations in North America. I've been leading marketing, communications, and branding for over 9 years for this brand. And I've been around marketing and franchising for too many years to mention on this webinar for lots of brands you might have heard of in franchising: Coverall, Kenny Rogers Roasters, Benihana, Puro Clean, and I started on the agency side of the desk. So we have a lot to talk about, and I'll turn it over to Kristen. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm Kristen Pahachik. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Massage Lux. We are a franchise based in St. Louis with over 70 locations. We're on a fast track to grow to 250 over the next 5 years, so we have some great growth ahead of us, and we do massage, facials, and waxing, and are a membership-based brand. I've been there about a year, been in franchising my whole career. Prior to Massage Lux, I was with Self-Esteem Brands. And I'm really excited to be here today. I'm excited to talk to you all, and hopefully this will be a good discussion. So make sure to use that chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll be answering questions at the end.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate those intros. So quick intro on Netsertive. I'm Jason Lynch, Director of Demand Gen at Netsertive. We're based in Raleigh and Seattle with team members really all over the country. But we were founded in 2009, and we have a deep expertise in local digital franchise marketing. And we have done over $1 billion in media spend, and where we really shine is going hyper local with nationally aligned campaigns and strategy. So what we're really good at is partnering with franchisors to serve the needs of franchisees. And we do that in a variety of ways across a variety of digital paid channels. And we're Google Premier partners, and we really bring together all of the main local paid media channels onto our platform that we use to really maximize the spend and the return on investment for franchise networks. So you can see some of the networks we work with, the multi-location marketing leaders, our podcast. And I'd actually say this conversation started on our podcast. Both Marcy and Kristen were guests on the podcast, and they both really just blew everyone away with their expertise in data and operations and marketing. And so we thought this would be a great webinar to bring to IFA. Again, just a bit more about Netsertive. It's multi-channel, and it is focused on tuning and really delivering results. And if you think about optimizing a single channel, that's doable. If you think about optimizing multiple campaigns across multiple locations and multiple channels, it becomes much more complex, and you really do need technology to do that well. And we've invested as a company tens of millions of dollars into our platform since 2009, and we love sharing that story and really how we can help. So it's really all about constantly improving campaigns from the research to design and configuration, measurement, and tuning. we really are able to onboard a network and then scale across locations quickly. And as we onboard more franchise locations, we're able to improve the results and have that network effect so that everyone is maximizing their return on investment. So with that being said, obviously even that approach, it takes a lot of data and strategy and integrations to make that work. And so that's really core to our DNA. And I know that that is becoming even more of a priority. Kristen, I saw something you posted on LinkedIn yesterday that 99% of CMOs want to improve their marketing automation. I'm sorry, marketing operations rather.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, you know, what I would say is most compelling about Netsertive is from a franchisor's perspective, franchisees, we have to be very selective as to what we give them in regard to their marketing activity. We can't give them 7 different tools in order for them to coordinate social and then digital over here and then their print portal over here and their custom ad builder over here. The more that we can try to combine those things and work from a single source of truth, the better. And my LinkedIn post was all about, listen, marketers have to learn how to convey what they're doing in marketing in a way that your CFO, your ops leaders, the other people you're working alongside in business with can understand. And we can't do that if we don't have a single source of truth in data and a single platform that kind of pulls everything together for us.
Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, I love that post, and I thought it perfectly tied into this topic of building a world-class local franchise marketing engine. So even just taking that topic, Marcy, what does that mean to you? What does a world-class local marketing engine mean to you?
Yeah, I think, Jason, quite simply for us, it means, building something that's simple and effective for a franchisee to find, nurture, and retain customers. In our case, it's all of our stakeholders, customers and craftsmen for a local franchisee, to help a franchisee be successful. If we can't do that effectively, our franchisees won't grow a business and won't reach their goals. So I know that it's not always simple, as Kristen was just saying. There's lots of players involved. It's not just the marketers, it's operations, and of course we have to make it easy for our franchisees. So a simple and effective way, and it's moving towards more automation. So I think that is how to build a world-class local franchise marketing engine. What we like to tell our franchisees is, we know you're not kind of getting up in the morning to be world-class marketers. You're getting up in the morning to be world-class business owners of X brand. And we want you to execute it the way the model was built to be executed. And we need to put these marketing systems in place so that they can be turnkey and simple. And that's what we train our franchisees to do.
Love that. It does absolutely has to be simple, especially in the presentation. I think that's what's engaging to people. If they know it's going to be simple and easy, I think that's where we see the benefit of being able to do this on behalf of the franchisees. They love that. Kristen, what about you with the world class? What makes a local marketing engine world class versus just meh? Versus just app?
Well, listen, world class is a subjective statement, right? World class is going to look different based on the franchise that you have, the size of the franchise that you have, and the type of franchisees that you have, right? If you're dealing with a franchise that, is a home services brand, you may have a different franchisee than a franchise that's in the insurance space. So I say that, but then also say kind of my personal mantra when it comes to localized marketing or franchisee-based marketing is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And it really, it's so true. Like, I once had a franchisee say,
sorry.
I once had a franchisee say, I didn't get into this business to do marketing. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, marketing's the best. Why wouldn't you be in the business to do marketing? And it really resonated with me because I was like, okay, you're right, you didn't. So you still have to, by the way. So you might want to reframe your thinking on that. But if you have to, how do we make it as simple and easy for you to execute as you possibly can. So when we are faced with a question, the first answer that I'm going to try to give is, can the franchisee do this? Yes or no? Can corporate do this? Yes or no? And then if corporate does it, does it compromise the local feel of the franchisee's store, spa, whatever it might be, right? If the answer is yes, if corporate does it, it's not going to be local anymore, then we have to have the franchisee do it. But if the answer is no, corporate should do as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
I love that too. Absolutely. Those are good
Yeah,
filters to be thinking about if you're a franchise out there thinking where things should be done. That's great advice, Kristen.
Yeah, and the more, especially with search, and obviously search leads to re-nurturing, but the more local that an ad is, the more localization there is at with the campaign and creative and call out extensions. When someone's searching for a near me, service, they want to know, what's the closest to me, who has the best deal, right? It's all about local. It's a high intent interaction, and so I think the more local, the better. So I love that as a litmus test. Is it going to damage their brand or be an unwise use of their funds if you're doing something that's too national and it's not localized enough? So when we're thinking about planning and goals, what are, just in general, what are some of the big rocks that you each are pursuing now with your teams? I know there's so many different things that you could be pursuing. I'm just curious, Kristen, we'll start with you. What are some of the big challenges y'all are tackling right now?
Yeah, I think that many could say that they found themselves, putting all their eggs in the basket when it comes to paid media in digital media, because we got spoiled. We love being able to see the return on investment or the return on ad spend, and it's very actionable and translatable to be able to deliver that information to a broader team. And I'm all for that. I love that. But one of the things that I'm really trying to solve for now is how to get the franchisees to re-engage in the community, to join the Chamber of Commerce, to make business connections, to do on-site events when appropriate. Because one of the downfalls of digital is, in most cases, the franchisor will either help provide an agency or do it themselves for the franchisee. Then the franchisee has the hands up, well, corporate's got it, I don't need to do any marketing. When in reality, they should be saying, corporate's got the heavy lifting. I can spend time in my community establishing myself as a small business that cares about that community. So that's one of those things where I'm like, man, really, really hard when you've got to get the franchisees moving on something that's going to take time and energy without that tangible return. How do we do that and make it as simple as possible for them to actually do?
That's great. Marcy, what about you? What are some of the any response to what Kristen said, or any ideas? Or any?
I love that Kristen's working on ways to help the franchisee get into the community, because I think every franchisee, regardless of industry or brand, that's what franchising is all about. We are cultivating small businesses in our local community. So I love that. When you have great ideas there, Kristen, I can't wait to talk to you about them, because at Handyman Connection, we want to get into the community just as much. I think when we were working on prep for this and you asked about kind of some of the big rocks, we have a huge boulder that I think all of us are trying to like push back up the hill when we can solve the problem. And that's employees and, or in our case, craftsmen. That side of our business and that kind of key stakeholder, we're all struggling with that right now. Struggling to find and retain workers in our businesses. So for us, that's been an area where we're focusing and allocating resources, not only time and energy, but dollars as well. So that's kind of the huge boulder right now. But on the marketing side, for us, it's local marketing optimization. It's balancing, coaching our franchisees on not pulling back from marketing, but using the dollars that they have and proving out the results for their local marketing. So it's not necessarily focusing on any one particular tactic, but it's looking at all of them across the board and making sure that our franchisees are spending and optimizing their spend. So we continue to focus on that every day, daily, with every franchisee we can.
Yeah, that's great. And so when you're looking at these goals and your prioritization, I'm curious, how do you decide, and Kristen, you talked about this a bit in the podcast episode, how do you decide what makes the cut? How do you, how are you picking, yes, this is a goal, this is a priority, and it's worth putting resources towards?
Yeah, so I really, and this is really hard. You can't always do this, so I recognize that. But when I'm creating goals for the team, what I try to do is go straight from the top. What's the business goal? What are we trying to do as a business this year? Then what are we trying to do from a marketing perspective that lines up to that business goal? And then what do the franchisees need to do in order to line up to the marketing goal? Okay, so if we need to generate X amount in system-wide revenue, from a marketing perspective, X amount of that revenue is going to come from our paid digital campaigns, okay? And then from a franchisee's perspective, they need to spend X amount at a X amount ROI or return on ad spend or whatever the primary KPI is going to be. And then I might have additional goals like the challenge about engaging in your community. Well, how do you solve that in a way that a franchisee understands? You give them a goal related to it. Hey, you need to connect with 5 different businesses in your community each month. Or like if they're in pre-sale or pre-opening, you have to join 2 different networking groups, make connections with 15 local business owners, meet with 5 people who run schools in the area, whatever that might be, so that they literally have a task list. They can check it off and your franchise representative or coach is working with them to check that list off.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. You have to roll everything up so that everyone's aligned and you're accomplishing, everyone's winning basically. Marcy, what about you all? How do you attack the planning process and just deciding? It sounds like you're facing such an urgent need with, finding the right people to serve your customers. So sometimes that obviously can bump everything else off, but how do you set goals?
Yeah, on an annual basis, we work with our franchisees on what we call an AFP, an annual financial plan. And on a local level, each discipline kind of has an area within that AFP. Rolling that up, kind of going the opposite way from what Kristen explained, it all kind of rolls into what are our key strategic initiatives and goals at the franchisor level. And it kind of goes both ways throughout the year. We kind of start annually, but then we kind of check in all the way down to weekly kind of check-ins with certain franchisees, depending on where they are at the stage of growth within their business. And it just kind of is an ongoing process. So it all rolls up into kind of the key strategies of the business, and they may ebb and flow. Like you said, Jason, right now we're really focused on the key stakeholder of Craftsman, but at any given time, we may, again, look at our brand experience for customers, or we may look at, our retention strategies or focus on a key area within the model. But for the most part, it's an annual planning process that rolls down to a weekly or biweekly or monthly, depending on the franchisee's needs.
Yeah, no, that's great. And as you're communicating these goals out to the franchisees, what works for you all as far as is it, internal systems, internal communications plans? Is it the one-on-one coaching, all of the above?
I'm just going to say all of the above, and over and over and over and re-over, and as many touch points as you have within your system. I think, maybe a webinar for another day, but communication is always, you think you're communicating things and then you find out there's franchisees that, I never heard about that. So yeah, as many touch points as you have within your system, use them. And if you think you've communicated well, you probably haven't, and you got to do it again. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that a message delivered is not a message received. Well, let's jump to technology and data, because I know this is where you each just have so much to say about this. So, I mean, this is just such a big topic, but I know, Marcy, when you even think about making data-driven marketing decisions or, creating a data model, what's your approach?
Well, that's kind of a big question, but I'll say.
Wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that Kristen said earlier, we have one source of truth that we at least like to kind of drive all of our data to and from, and that's our kind of operating CRM system. We use Microsoft Dynamics, but regardless, whatever your chosen kind of main operating data point is, we have kind of decided as a team, a home office team, that is where we are going to manage the business from. And from a marketing perspective, we're going to push data to that system. If at all, heavenly possible, we are going to align with partners where we can push data to it and pull data from it. And that is going to be our one source of truth. Now, there's always exceptions. I cry at night when there are, but it's not always, financially feasible to always have an API in or the ability to pull data, as I'm sure you both can appreciate that. However, that is always our goal, to have one source of truth. And from that, we have reporting and we have, ease of execution on the operation side. And there's just so much that you can have kind of a sigh of relief knowing that that is your one source of truth. You can trust in the data, and that data just allows you to do so much. So I can talk on and on, but I'll let Kristen kind of weigh in. But that does allow us to make data-driven decisions, knowing that we have the data we need based on, our strategies, our goals, our vision for the business.
Yeah, and Kristen, so what about you? What's your approach to a data model and the systems involved?
Yeah, of course, I agree with Marcy 100%. If I could offer additional info to kind of consider, I think one of my experiences, and you may smile at this, is that marketers sometimes hide behind data because there's so much of it. So if we don't like one data point, you can be like, but I got this many impressions. And somehow we weasel our way. And yeah, exactly. Like a really effective campaign. So one of the pieces of advice that I would give to your teams is, listen, align on those KPIs up front and do not change them. And you may have to find yourself in a situation where you're dividing out activities based on perhaps the marketing funnel, right? Anything you do in the awareness category is going to have a different KPI that should be assigned a different weight than in lead generation. Because if you put it all in one big bucket, I mean, Facebook and Google are going to win every single time. Every single time they will win because it's the easiest to measure and it's the cheapest. But if you don't have things happening over on the awareness and consideration part of the funnel, nothing's going to flow into that lead gen. So spend there. And when I say spend, I mean time and or money, not just money. And your bottom of the funnel will look more effective, but just make sure you have different KPIs for each of those stages.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Just committing to the KPIs up front and not changing them every month. If you're changing your KPIs every month, you're probably you're still in a learning phase of the campaigns, I guess. Yeah, that's great. We definitely know that every network has, just depending on the strategy and the competition, it is a unique set of metrics that really matter. And I think communicating that to the franchisees is important. But sometimes, like you said, they don't want to be marketers. What do you all think about what metrics do communicate to franchisees? What data really sings when it comes to reporting out to them?
I can go. One of the things that I've really loved about the way that we've set up our marketing department at Massage Lux, which was before I got there, and I love it. Our demand generation efforts go towards getting people to purchase online. So they're buying a massage or a facial ahead of time, and then they come in. So it's almost like buying a gift card, but it's for themselves, a little certificate. And the reason I love that is because our franchisees get an immediate return on investment. Like right off the bat, they put 5,000 in Facebook ads, they're selling 7,000 in massage certificates. So they get a return on ad spend.
Right.
But then they come in to the spa and you close them on a membership and there's a long-term value to that customer too. So not only are they getting return on ad spend, but then a projected return on investment. And those two measures are like my pillar measures when talking to the franchisees, because I'm doing it in a language they understand. I'm not like impressions and ad frequency and the visibility of this ad and blah, blah, blah. I'm not having to talk about things they don't understand. I'm talking about exactly how this impacted them in the short term via revenue and how this impacted them in the long term via profit. And it's been very effective.
That's great, making it really tangible. Marcy, what about you? What metrics or data conversations resonate with franchisees?
Yeah, so in our system, and everyone has their own kind of acronyms that are the most important KPIs, which is why I mentioned earlier that we need to push and pull all the data out of our CRM system. For franchisees, yeah, they're going to gloss over and multitask, and I'm going to lose them when we start talking about impressions and what we mentioned to them as soft metrics, right? The metrics that you're going to get even in Google Analytics and those types of things. They want to see traffic to their website, and they want to see, kind of the arrows going in the right direction, and they know that that's kind of directional for them, that marketing dollars are working. ROI is very important, but we show the ROI to them through the sales funnel for Handyman Connection. And for us, it starts with a lead. That lead has to convert. Converting for us is to a work order. So lead conversion is number one kind of step in the sales funnel for us. We do have a kind of a stop in the sales funnel that we measure, which is called slippage. So if they get a lead that doesn't convert and their slippage increases, that's bad for us. That means marketing dollars were spent, but they didn't do anything with those dollars. So we have kind of a brand experience process that, we can coach them on. So those are some of the key metrics for us at kind of the early stages in the sales funnel. But of course, it goes all the way through to, did you book work and did you close that work, and success ratio and all those things kind of further down the funnel, but ultimately sales. But we kind of go forward and backwards in the funnel, depending on, again, the different marketing channels that we're trying to optimize. But we're a repeat and referral business, and at the end of the day, we want to look at their repeat customers and the activity from repeat customers and also referrals. So we can measure all that in our CRM system. So again, I can kind of get carried away with all this, but if I'm having a coaching conversation with a franchisee, it's all about kind of looking at this holistically and making sure that they understand these are the important kind of data points that we're going to look at to say kind of keep doing something, accelerate doing something, or stop doing something.
That's great. I love the just measuring by stages and seeing is something stalling, and what can you do if you do have a certain campaigns or channels that tend to stall out. The process, and I could also talk about CRM and data for hours, but it takes a lot to keep all of that, the data hygiene and the processes and everything intact and reliable. So Marcy, what are some of the ways that you keep your data clean and your processes trustworthy?
We yell a lot. No, I'm kidding. We coach our franchisees on the importance of what happens when you have good data and bad data. And for us, we do have a marketing ecosystem that's automated, meaning we have an email process that goes out at certain touch points in our brand experience process. So if they don't keep that data, kind of manage the efficacy of the data, potentially their customer don't get certain messages, or potentially a customer is going to get the wrong message. So we coach that from day one when they come in to the system and go through boot camp. And I work really closely, like hand in hand, we're kind of connected with our head of IT who manages kind of the IT systems. And that's why I think everything with marketing automation, kind of working on the technology side of our business, but yet we're in charge of brand and messaging and everything kind of that CMOs have to do. I think what Kristen was talking about kind of at the onset of this conversation, it's so critical today because we've become marketing technologists as well. So those are some of the things that it's all about, going back to the why. But at the end of the day, there are some offices that don't have as clean of data in their system as others, and things happen. They'll get a customer that will say, why did I get that message? I've already completed that work. And they're getting a message on, hey, do you want to move forward with that project? And they're like, what are you talking about? And, things like that happen.
Yeah, that's true. There is just a margin of error.
Mhm.
Kristen, what about you? How do you all handle your data and process hygiene so that it's delivering as optimal a customer experience as possible?
Yeah, it's for me, it's tough because we have a fantastic POS system that we love. But we all try to not do a ton of API integrations and connections, because the more that you do that, the more complicated your data becomes. And so then you always are like in this, I don't know, I ask myself all the time, I'm like, should we buy or should we build? And that's tough because there are pros and cons to whether you buy or you build. And a lot of that pros and cons in the CRM space and in your data management space comes down to the accuracy of your data and the privacy of your data, and it's complicated. Every brand's going to be a little bit different, right? Some brands are operating off of multiple POS systems and they're nightmares, right? If you are in the emerging space, honestly, keep it as simple as possible. Keep everything in one spot. Have a single source of truth for your consumer side of your business, and have a single source of truth or an element of the consumer side dedicated to your franchise development CRM.
Yeah, that's great. Again, keeping it simple, even with and as centralized, I think, as possible, is absolutely works well. Marcy, you've talked a lot about automation and data integrity. What has that journey been like? What did it take to build that system? Because you don't just start with all of those fields configured correctly and workflows firing and automations. What did that look like to stand that up?
Lots of hair color. No. It's been quite the journey, I will say. So when I joined this company back in 2012, we had, I've told this to someone, I might have even told this to Aaron on the podcast. We were on Lotus Notes, and that's probably telling some people that's like using a typewriter, right? I mean, it was very like old fashioned. So when we built the system we have now, which is a customized version, and it was somewhat out of the box but customized. So we bought, but we built part of it. So it wasn't like fully customized in-house or fully built in-house. But everything we do, we collaborate with franchisees, whether it's our full advisory council, or at the time we were working with a group that we called our brand champions to build a brand experience model, and they were also involved in our current CRM system. And it's evolved even since then, because that was launched back in 2014. So that feels like just yesterday, but it was eons ago, right? So we know like technology, turns over almost on an annual basis, right? Especially if you look at the iPhone. So it was quite a process, and we, one of our core values is practicing continuous improvement, and we do that on a daily basis. So certainly our systems is, no different. So that we rolled out our CRM system, and then our marketing engine, what we call our marketing ecosystem, followed with that, because we had this vision on how we wanted to keep it simple, certainly using Kristen's KISS method, but at the same time, have it be a forward thinking, more modern version of what we had, what I inherited when I walked in the door, which wasn't automated, and we didn't have a lot of digital assets at the time. So we worked with our outside partners, who we highly value, just like I'm sure Netsertive works with their partners, and they're an extension of our team. And we brought everyone together, and we said, okay, we have this CRM system, but now how can we bolt on automated messaging to our customers based on our goal of being a repeat and referral business? And that's where these automated messages come into play, based on where the customer is in the journey. But it took a lot of time. It took a lot of collaboration with franchisees. Franchisees, we love them. They have lots of ideas, but at some point, someone has to make the decision, right? So it evolves. I work with the marketing committee now, and we meet bi-monthly, and we still look at, we prioritize, what are we going to work on? You can't have 15 projects going at once. So we prioritize, and we look at our systems all the time. So it's pretty much ongoing.
Yeah, I like that. Just knowing your customers and your ultimate strategy, you're a repeat and referral business. And so how do you, what do you need then, right? That ultimately the customer experience is going to dictate the technology. And so that will, then for automation and multiple touch points and reminders and, remember to do this, I definitely see that being kind of an obvious need. So it's always fun to kind of build back from a strategy and deliver that customer experience. Kristen, I'm curious if you have a story around, it could be around technology and data, but even just, Marcy was talking about the marketing committee, and I know there's a lot of testing and learning and continuous improvements. Is there something that you've tried since you've been in your role that just didn't work, and you decided that's a lesson learned, and we're gonna move on from that strategy or optimize it to make it work?
Honestly, all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing huge, but we're constantly, especially in the paid space and in the messaging space, changing different things in order to find the right balance of the information we're trying to deliver and the results we're trying to get. Just the first one that comes to mind is in regard to franchise demand generation. So how do you market your franchise opportunity? We change that franchise form on our website all the time because we have to find the perfect balance of driving traffic there, and then once they get there, like pre-qualifying them with certain questions, but not too much because we still want leads, so it's like this constant, do we have required liquidity on there? Do we not? Do we ask them how much cash they have available? Do we not? Do we ask them for their home address, or don't we, right? And we're taking a look at not only how is traffic to the site, but what's the conversion rate on the site, and most importantly, what's the qualification rate, or how much of those leads that came in are actually qualified. And that's all. I wouldn't call that mistakes. It's just that a good marketer is constantly testing and constantly asking the team, what could we change in order to increase whatever KPI we're watching at that moment. So I think that's really important. The one thing that I'll say is, I believe to be true, CRM, or like the way that you message to your customers, whether that be via email, via text, via paid media, via content, it's got to be the hardest thing right now for marketers to figure out, because so much of the media marketing work has to happen before you can have an effective consumer messaging strategy. That means you got to be really solid on your brand position. You got to be really solid on your marks and the way that you look. You got to be really solid on your brand voice. And I would argue that you have to have a pretty solid paid strategy as well before you dive into this messaging in full bore in regard to getting a synchronized message out to your customers. So I think it's really, really hard, and I think it's about to get harder given that we're going to get less data, not more data about the customer as privacy starts to get even tougher to navigate.
Yeah, definitely. We're obviously fans of the paid media strategy at Netsertive. I think it's, as you're figuring out, the good thing about paid, as you're saying, is as you're figuring out all the marketing automation and operations and data, there's market demand out there. And I think paid's the easiest way to capture high intent market demand, re-nurture, and continue to, build those custom audiences and get that funnel going as you're also nurturing them once they come into the database. Marcy, is there something from a lesson learned from working with your marketing committee of hey, this just wasn't working, or an example of continuous improvement? How would you answer that question?
There's, as Kristen said, there's so many, and there's lessons learned on a daily basis. Some small lessons, some things you got to tweak, some things you're just like, you're blowing things up. My lesson that I thought about was actually just how to kind of work on a pilot program with a potential partner. So we were feedback. A lot of our great ideas come from franchisees. I think everyone will kind of nod their head with me. Franchisees will see something local or be approached by a potential partner or have an idea. Well, this was a pilot program with a potential partner. A franchisee came to us and said, you know, we really want to work with this partner. It was a lead gen partner. And so we said, okay, let's approach them. And we did, and we got some franchisees to pilot this program with us. And we thought we had put together a fairly well-structured pilot. Anyway, long story short, we piloted it, whatever the time frame was, 6-9 months. And after the pilot, we just we looked at the data, and we weren't thrilled with the data. The franchisees were meh, but we kind of moved forward with those franchisees continuing, and we were looking at a structure to launch it to the system, but we still just weren't kind of feeling that this was kind of the best opportunity for our franchisees. And a lot of times we have some programs that are optional. Nothing is absolutely mandatory, but the partner somewhat ghosted us in a way. I don't know how better to describe it. A lesson learned here is really to kind of work with your partners, establish some expected outcomes, ask them to commit to some expected outcomes, have the franchisees really give you as much data as possible if it's not within your system to be able to pull. Again, we didn't have an integration. We weren't expected to have an integration in a pilot phase program anyway. So lesson learned, there was a lot of time and effort put into this, and it just kind of fizzled out. And it was very disappointing. And this was fairly recent, within the past couple of years that we worked on this. And when I see kind of LinkedIn posts or I see Facebook posts from this company who will remain nameless, I just kind of scratch my head and go like, what are they doing? So anyway, it didn't work out for us. I wish them the best, and they will remain nameless, but it was just a lesson learned on how not to run a pilot program with certain partners. I'm certainly have restructured how I would move forward with pilot programs with my franchisees.
Yeah, no, that is definitely, you have to pick your partners. And Kristen, I know you talk about this a lot with partnerships. I mean, how do you're a big relationship partnership person, how do you set those expectations with partners up front?
I could sing a song about this, Jason. Here's the deal. Yes, of course I have expectations for my partners, but if my partners believe and understand in what we are trying to do, I shouldn't have to set a harsh expectation. They should buy into what we're wanting to do because they are an extension of my team. So I try really, really, really hard when I'm bought in with a partner and ready to rock with them. I want them to know exactly what my goals are. I want them to know that if they don't succeed, I don't succeed. And I don't succeed, they don't succeed. Like, we need each other, just like in our franchising setup, right? Franchisor needs franchisee, franchisee needs franchisor. Same thing with your partners. So they have to understand what your goals are, which means you have to communicate them. On the flip side, my supplier friends on the phone, I want to know what your goals are. What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to go after as a client? You help me in my business, I will help you in your business. So there's got to be a little bit of that give and take there. And the more that you can share and be upfront, the more trust is going to build.
That's great. I love that. That's true partnership. Well, we're rounding out the time here, but I did want to just jump into operationalizing that local marketing aspect. We've talked a lot about this, but if you just took that concept of operationalizing local marketing, what does your local marketing strategy look like, and maybe what's the thing that you're coaching franchisees on the most, Marcy?
Spending money.
Spending money.
Actually doing it. Actually doing it. For us, our biggest challenge, you may have heard me say it already, is on the worker side, or for us, the craftsman side. So for us, it's a big balance question of, do I need leads? Do I need craftsmen? So really it is, the optimization discussion happens daily with franchisees. You need to spend on marketing. You need to grow your business. You need top of the funnel new customers so you can get to that repeat and referral database that ultimately is your sellable asset. That's the handyman connection conversation with local franchisees every single day. But in terms of bringing on new franchisees, like, we have a standardized local marketing plan that's practiced and proven, and we kind of tweak it as our partners bring us new opportunities or new initiatives, or Google changes their algorithm, or Facebook or Instagram has a a new thing, or they're changing up things with Instagram saying photos aren't going to have any weight but video will, those types of conversations. So that's kind of the state of local marketing at Handyman Connection. We try to keep it simple. We try to make it where our franchisees focus on running their business and don't spend a ton of time on marketing, but they understand the importance of it.
That's great. Kristen, what about you? What are some of the top things that you all are coaching at the local level?
Yeah, engagement, of course, as Marcy said, absolutely, and always and forever. But one of the things that I would encourage you to think about, it's like if you sat back and you said, okay, out of my franchisees in my system, or the franchisees that I'm working with, how many of them could actually give me a 30-second elevator pitch on why the business is different? My franchisees, I don't think I'd be very happy if I heard that. And so one of the things that's like top on my list right now is let's teach them how to sell themselves, so that when they do go out in the community, they can actually sell themselves. And when they do see that new creative ad campaign that corporate put out, they actually make the connection. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm saying in the business. Now it's translating in the ads and in the media messaging, and they really start to build in what the brand should be known for. And so that's something that you can only get at through manuals, right? Like, here is the elevator script. Now go practice it, right? And really providing playbooks that they can read and say, like, there's a playbook that we have that's like, okay, when you go and you sit down for a business connection, the first meeting should just be like really casual and chill. And it's just like, here's what you could say. Here's a sample script. Would you be willing to meet me for coffee? I'd love to learn more about your business, type of thing. And then the second meeting, maybe you propose some sort of cross-marketing promotion. Here's something that you could say that would make that sound okay. So really, like, if you have an engineer from Ford who just bought into your franchise, and now you're expecting him to go and like schmooze up at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, you're gonna have to equip that guy with some things to say. He's an engineer. And so, yeah, so really just kind of boiling it down and telling them exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, definitely. That was a very specific example. I'm thinking maybe
I have a franchisee who's
that's a great example, though, because the engineers typically want to sit behind the computer. He'd probably be great with all the data analysis, but he's not going to be the schmoozer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about your data and systems, I'm sure. When it comes
we all have those guys in our systems.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to your local, what is the top performing channel for generating new business?
So at Handyman Connection, obviously, because we're in home services, one of our top performing channels are the lead aggregators, like a Home Advisor or Angie Leads now, Home Advisor powered by Angie. So that's kind of one of our top kind of lead generators. But for us, paid ads is still kind of is there. As Kristen said, the data is there. We can prove it out to the franchisee, and it gets us, when a franchisee says, I need leads, I just onboarded 5 craftsmen, we can turn on paid ads, whether it's Google or paid Facebook, and they get the lead numbers that we need. And we're all about, like, our business is managed on data, on numbers. Like, we can say, you got 5 craftsmen, you need to get them doing this number of work orders, blah, blah, blah. We need X number of leads, turn on paid ads. So, yep, that's where we go.
Yeah, we take that same approach as Kristen was describing with Playbooks. It's the same thing where if it's a new location, or just depending on the life cycle of the brand or the location with the franchise network, there are absolutely different paid strategies that you would take, and to come up with really just effective playbooks and that are scalable and repeatable.
Yeah, one thing I'll add, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Jason, but the one thing I'll add, I mean, we have our favorite immediate, like, demand generation, right? Lead gen tactics and channels, but we also position kind of the proven plan that I mentioned earlier, is that it's an integrated plan. We don't want you only doing one and turning everything else off. They all work hand in hand to kind of achieve that annual financial plan, the AFP goals that we work with our franchisees on. So a lot of times a franchisee will come to our director of local marketing and say, you know what, I only am going to do, I'm making this up, I'm only going to do home advisor this month and I'm going to save the other money. Like, no, they work hand in hand, because that home advisor lead might come in through home advisor, but we still want them, if they are interested in learning more about your business, to go to your website, and we still want you to own the CERT page and have a presence. So it's very important that they don't just go to their favorite channel and only spend there.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Well, I want to close our portion. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to enter them, and would love to just hear what, I mean, in, let's say, I can't even imagine a year from now, but a year from now, you know, what are you excited about, you know, what do you hope you've either implemented, or just what's exciting right now for you? Kristen, we'll start with you. What are you excited about emerging opportunities?
Yeah, I'm excited to dial in on CRM. Been at Massage Luxe for about a year. We've done a ton in the last year, and now it's time to kind of peel back the layers on CRM. I think that once we have solid CRM, kind of 2022 will be a lot around satisfaction, overall SAT or net promoter scores, loyalty, things like that, that really can't happen unless you have a solid CRM strategy. So I'm super excited for the next 2 years. I think we got some really, really big rocks to push forward that are going to make meaningful differences in our attrition and our lead gen.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcy, what about you? What are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited to create more digital assets for our franchisees on the recruiting side of our business. We're working really hard on those. So we have some really kind of devoted focus on content. I think all of us as marketers have struggled with that. I think to not on at the brand level, but really get kind of into the local offices and generate content there, and still create at the brand level as well. So I'm excited about that. So if I had to project a year or 2 years from now, I'm hoping our franchisees can say, I have some great new tools and it's working for me, and I have all the craftsmen I need and can recruit them a lot easier, and I'm working on retention and being really good franchise leaders with my team. So that's what I'm excited about.
That sounds like a happy place, and you're moving.
Such a happy place.
Leading your team.
On the franchise development side of our business, I'm hoping that we're working on a new website. I'm hoping that we can also make some inroads there with some new materials to get our franchise development team rocking with some new owners. So it'll be
Nice.
really good, happy place if both of those things align.
That's great. Well, I know you both are you've contributed so much to the conversation today. I know everyone that tuned in surely took some good notes and has some ideas to take back to their team. So I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Caitlin, thank you so much.
Yeah, Kristen, Jason, Marcy, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys and have you on board. And Netsertive, again, thank you so much for your support. Everyone who joined us today, thank you so much. And everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great one.
Fun.